Hi, everyone. Amy here from the Southwest New York Dairy, Livestock, and Field Crops program. And tonight I'm going to be sharing a 30,000-foot overview about organic farming. There's potential here in Southwestern New York, as well as other areas across the United States, to get into organic farming. And if you're interested in becoming certified, or if you're already selling products that are labeled as organic, this presentation is for you because it goes over the general rules of organic production and what you can and cannot label as what. So let's jump right in. This definition is pulled from the USDA's website and states that USDA certified organic foods are grown and processed according to the federal guidelines addressing, among many factors, soil quality, animal raising practices, pest and weed control, and use of additives. Organic producers rely on natural substances and physical, mechanical, or biological-based farming methods to the fullest extent possible. Now, within that definition, there are 4 sub-rules, and those are that crops are produced without genetic engineering, ionizing radiation, or sewage sludge. The second is that they're managed in a manner that conserves natural resources and biodiversity. The third is that they are raised per the national list of allowed and prohibited substances, which we'll get into in a moment. And finally, that they're overseen by the USDA National Organic Program Authorized Certifying Agent, meeting all USDA organic regulations. Now, this is important because this kind of falls into our next slide, which goes through labeling, what you can and cannot put on your labels and marketing materials based on what you're producing. So, what you see to the right is the USDA organic seal, and that can only be used by folks who are certified organic and are selling more than certified organic and or are certified organic and selling more than $5,000 worth of product. In addition, if you are selling more than $5,000 worth of organic product, you have to be certified organic. And then, of course, using the seal and using the word certified organic on your packaging are permitted. Now, if you're selling less than $5,000 worth of product a year, you're not required to have certification to use the term organic on your labeling. You can use wording like organically fed, or organically raised, or organically pastured, but you cannot use the word certified organic, and you cannot use the seal to the right here because that is false advertising and that is against the law. Now, if you are using the word organic on your product, you have to be following organic production and handling requirements. You can't just pick and choose. You have to be adhering to everything. Now, because you're adhering to everything, part of that is record keeping, and records of things like where you're sourcing stock or seed from, where you're sourcing feed or chemicals from, what chemicals you're using, when you're using them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those records have to be kept for at least 3 years. So if somebody comes up and wants to review your justification of being organic, having organic labels on your products and marketing materials, they can do that. Another advantage to keeping track of things is that if you decide to go for your certification, if you decide that, well, maybe I want to become certified, you will have the records to prove that you've been using organic practices up to that point, and will make certification easier and should reduce the amount of time it takes you to get your certification, which is typically 36 months from the last date of prohibited substance use. Now, the only caveat to that less than $5,000 rule is if you are converting your farm products into value-added products. There's 2 different paths that this can take. So the first is you are producing, let's say, strawberries. You want to make strawberry jam, and you're raising your strawberries organically. They're not certified, and you want to use the word organic strawberries on your label, or if you're using organic pectin and organic cleaners to clean your jars and organic sugar, then you want to say that the product is organic. You can do that. That's fine. Now, if you are selling your strawberries to a neighbor or friend to make a jam, that product that you sell has to be certified organic for that neighbor to put that either the strawberries are organic, or if she's making the whole product and wants to label the whole product as organic, she can only do that if you are selling to her fruit that is certified organic. So that's that little caveat there. So what is a GMO? A GMO is a genetically modified organism, and these organisms are modified either for disease or pest resistance or for quality attributes. So for instance, apples, when they're cut, we all know that they turn brown after about 10 minutes or so. Genetically modified apples stay white and fresh looking for much longer. There are only 10 GMO crops in the United States, although GMOs are quite pervasive throughout our agricultural systems, and those crops are listed down below. Most of these crops are either going into animal feed or they are going into further processed products for human consumption. It's not very common that you'll be able to go to the store and pick up a GMO apple, potato, or summer squash. They're really not that common. A lot of just traditionally bred plants are used to produce a lot of the fruits and vegetables that we eat fresh. Another thing I want to mention is organic certification means that it's essentially the products that you're producing are free of GMOs. GMO free is one of the requirements in order to be organic certified. When you're sourcing organic plants or livestock for your organically run farm, you want to make sure that you're purchasing non-GMO seed. This is most important for those of you who want to grow organically produced field crops, just because there is a lot of pervasiveness of GMOs within the field crop sector. However, if you're growing vegetables, you don't really need to worry about this too much. Most of our vegetable crops are developed using selective breeding techniques rather than GMOs. And all of your heirloom plants are going to be non-GMO, and almost every single one of the new varieties out there is going to be non-GMO, even if it's not listed. If you are uncertain, you can contact the seed company and verify. If you have annual transplants that you're using on your farm, such as garlic sets or onion transplants, these will need to come from a certified organic operation with documentation that they are from such an operation. For orchards, you should plant organic fruit trees if you plan on harvesting that fruit sooner than 36 months, because if you plant a non-organic tree or bush, you're going to have to wait 36 months for that plant to go the cycle to then become considered organically produced on your farm. In terms of livestock, all need to be fed organically and treated organically from day of age, but poultry are kind of the exception in where they do not need to be treated like this until the second day of life. If they are on your farm, typically with poultry, what happens is that they will be shipped in the mail and they will arrive to your farm between 24 and 72 hours after hatch. At that point, they can be fed and things. And that's why this rule was put in place, because it's understood that poultry typically take time in the mail during that first day of life to reach you. Now, if you're hatching poultry on your own farm or getting poultry from a neighbor, that poultry has to be fed organically from day of life. So for instance, if they're hatching chicks and they're putting them right into a brooder with feed, that feed has to be certified organic, for instance. Now, for other livestock, they need to be from a certified organic farm. We typically, as livestock producers, will purchase these animals as starts. So they'll be more than a day of age, but that really doesn't matter for mammals since organic certification happens during the last third of gestation. So whatever stock you buy has to be from a certified organic farm. It's commonly understood that chemical fertilizers are prohibited. And so what is allowed then for fertilization if we can't use things like chemically derived fertilizers? And what is allowed is manure, compost, bone meal, fish meal, blood meal, rock phosphate, kelp, elemental sulfur, crushed eggshells, that sort of thing. And these are all components which will raise the nutrient value of your soils while also falling under the allowed substances for organic production. Oregon State University has put together NPK tables for values for typical organic fertilizers, and that can be found at the link below. Please note that from here forward that all of the links that you see in this presentation are going to be put in the comment section. below the video, so you can go ahead and find those resources on your own, should you want to explore them further. It's well known that herbicides and pesticides are not allowed to be used in organic production unless they are derived from nature and are certified either on the GRAS, the generally recognized as safe list, or the Omri List, which is the Organic Materials Review Institute. Omri reviews many materials to determine if they are suitable for organic production, and both of these organizations list which items are allowed for organic production on their website. So if you are using, it could be an herbicide or pesticide, but it also could be a soap or a disinfectant. If you're unsure if it qualifies for organic production, you can go ahead and research, just take a look at one of these websites and make sure that it falls under organic allowed substances. Livestock, as I mentioned before, need to be fed 100% organic feed and treated organic from day one. That means no administered antibiotics or hormones, and that the conditions that they're living in accommodate their natural behavior. For pasture field crops and orchards, not only do we want to treat the crops themselves organically, but we also want to make sure that we are managing space between field rows, between fields, the orchard floor and fence lines of pastures, or of crop fields. We want to make sure that they're also managed organically. If you have a farm, just say you're grazing sheep and you take glyphosate and you're spraying around a fence line in order to keep the weeds down, that's not considered an organic practice. You're using a prohibited substance, and the clock backs down, and it's going to take longer for you to achieve certified organic production. And then you technically can't use the word organic on your product label or marketing materials. Now, a way to prevent non-organic neighbors' practices from affecting your farm, such as herbicide drift, is to put in place physical barriers to help prevent the spread of those things. So runoff diversions, wood line between your field and the neighbor's field. Maybe you have a field between your organic field and your neighbor's field, which is treated organically but not harvested as organic. That can end up as being a buffer or a tall annual crop. These all can provide some protection for your organic farm. When you're processing meats and produce, meats especially should be processed in an organic certified facility. And if you're processing fruits and vegetables at home, don't commingle organic and non-organic if you're growing both on the same farm. If you're washing them with any soaps or sanitizers, make sure that those soaps and sanitizers are approved on either the Omri or GRAS list. And do not use artificial or synthetic preservatives in anything that you're creating, whether it be a way to preserve the produce or a way to make a value-added product. Organic certification is typically done by a certifying agency, which is permissed to do such work under the National Organic Program. In New York State, there are a couple of different organic certification agencies that you can go through, but all pretty well adhere to the national standards. The commonalities is that organic farms must be managed for at least 3 years as organic prior to getting the organic certification. So even if you're doing everything right, you have to make sure that those 3 years have elapsed before you go to attain your organic certification. Now, remember, if you're selling under $5,000 worth of product and you're managing things as organic and you're not yet organic certified, you can use the word organic on your label or marketing materials. Records are extremely important. When the auditor comes out to audit your farm, this person is going to review both your premise, making sure that you're doing what you're saying and saying what you're doing, and also reviewing your records, which is a verification of that same thing. They want to see the use of sprays, where you're getting seeds or young stock, what fertilizers are you using, when you're applying them, where you're applying them, how you're applying them, because they're just there to verify that you're doing the right thing. They also want to verify when you last used a prohibited substance on your farm. So for instance, we'll go back to the example of the sheep farm pasture with the use of glyphosate along the fence line. As long as that's documented, and that was 3 years in the past before applying for your organic certification, that's fine. If you're interested in learning more about the National Organic Program standards or interested in getting an application in to become organic certified, you can visit that link there below. There are a lot of resources that I tapped into in order to put this presentation together today. They are listed here on these next 2 slides, but again, I'll pop them into the comments and chat below the video to make sure that you can access them and review them at your leisure. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you later.